The evening air in Savannah was thick with the scent of jasmine and history. Elias Vance walked along the cobblestone streets. His pace was unhurried. He was a man who appreciated the stories whispered by old buildings. He had been a professor of history for 2 decades. His love for the past was etched into his quiet demeanor. Now he was a restorer of places. He bought old, forgotten establishments not for profit, but for preservation. He believed a restaurant's soul was found in its standard of service, a standard of dignity afforded to every single person who walked through its doors. Tonight, he was visiting his newest acquisition, a place he had named the Gilded Sparrow. He wore a simple gray suit. It was well-tailored but unassuming. He was not here as an owner. He was here as an anonymous guest. He was here to see if the soul of the place was as he had intended it to be. He pushed open the heavy oak door. The hostess stand was manned by a woman named Clarissa. Her name tag announced her as the assistant manager. The title was her armor and her weapon. She looked up from her tablet. Her professional smile faltered for a fraction of a second. It was a nearly imperceptible shift, but Elias saw it. He had spent a lifetime reading the subtle language of prejudice. He saw the quick calculation in her eyes. He saw her mind categorize him. He saw her decide he was not the right kind of clientele. Her smile returned, but it was brittle. It was a tool, not a welcome. She asked if she could help him. Her voice was artificially bright. Elias requested a table for one. His voice was low and resonant. It was a voice accustomed to quiet lecture halls, not loud demands. Clarissa surveyed the dining room. There were several empty tables. A lovely two-top by the window was free. A plush booth sat invitingly in the center. She tapped her tablet with a polished nail. She sighed a theatrical sigh of inconvenience. She told him most tables were reserved, but she said she had something for him in the back. She led him past the warm glow of the main dining area. She led him past the soft laughter and clinking glasses. She led him to a small, forgotten table. It was wedged between a service closet and the swinging door of the kitchen. The air here was different. It smelled faintly of bleach. The warm light of the restaurant did not reach this corner. It was a place of exile. Elias looked at the empty, desirable tables. He then looked at the spot she had chosen for him. His face was a mask of calm neutrality. He said it would be fine. Clarissa's lips twisted into a smirk of satisfaction. She placed a menu on the table with 2 fingers. She avoided any further contact. She walked away without another word. Elias sat. He unfolded his napkin with deliberate grace. He read the menu, though he already knew it by heart. He had written it himself. He chose the simplest, most honest meal. Pan-seared trout with new potatoes and asparagus. It was a classic dish, a test of the kitchen's fundamental skill. Clarissa returned to take his order. She did not use a notepad. She crossed her arms. She asked if he had made his decision. Her use of the word "sir" was a subtle weapon. It was meant to mock, not to respect. He gave her his order calmly. Her eyebrows shot up in feigned surprise. She said, "Ooh, look at you living large tonight." She commented on the price of the meal. She suggested it must be a special occasion for him. The insult was clear. She believed this modest meal was a splurge for someone like him. He did not react. He simply met her gaze. His stillness seemed to unnerve her. She leaned in closer. Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. She told him they got people like him all the time. People who tried to act like big shots on a small paycheck. She laughed, a short, sharp sound devoid of humor. She told him not to choke when he saw the bill. She walked away. Elias sat in the heavy silence of his corner. He listened to the happy sounds of the dining room. It was a world away. When his food arrived, it was not presented. It was dropped. The plate landed with a dull thud. The trout was dry. The asparagus was limp and oily. The potatoes were a careless smear on the porcelain. It was food stripped of all pride. Food meant for someone who did not matter. He took a single bite. The taste was of neglect. He placed his fork down. He would not eat another bite. He needed to use the restroom. He rose from his chair. His movements were slow and purposeful. Before he could take 2 steps, Clarissa's voice cut through the air. "Sir!" she called out loudly. The sound made several diners turn their heads. She walked towards him, her arms crossed. Her posture was one of aggressive authority. She said she would have to stop him right there. The main restroom, she explained, was for customers only. Elias's voice was quiet but firm. He told her he was a customer. She laughed that same sharp, hollow laugh. "Barely," she said. She told him of a new policy. A policy that required a minimum $50 purchase to use the main facilities. The lie was audacious. It was invented purely for him. He knew it was a lie. He had written the actual policies, but he did not argue. He asked if this was a real policy. She snapped that it did not need to be written down. It was company policy. She said they could not let just anyone use their facilities. The words "just anyone" hung in the air. They were heavy with unspoken meaning. But she told him he was in luck. She pointed towards the back. She said there was another restroom in the basement. He could use the service stairs. The entrance was next to the mop sink. The humiliation was public now. It was delivered with a smile. Elias looked at her. His jaw was tight. His calm was a force of will. He asked if other guests used the mop sink entrance, or if it was just for people like him. Her facade cracked for a second. Then she rolled her eyes. She told him not to make it a thing. She hissed that you people always pull that card. Without another word, Elias turned. He walked toward the basement stairs as instructed. The restaurant watched him go. He descended into the dim, poorly lit service area. The basement restroom was as grim as she had intended. A single flickering bulb hung over a stained sink. He washed his hands in silence. He looked at his reflection in the cracked mirror. He saw not anger. He saw resolve. When a person's dignity is repeatedly assaulted, it does not break. It sharpens. He knew when he returned to the dining room he would no longer be a guest. He would be an owner demanding answers. When he emerged, the world had shifted. His corner was empty. The table was gone. The chair had vanished. The plate of uneaten food had disappeared. It was as if he had been erased. He stood still for a long moment. The foundation of his calm began to tremble. His voice was low, but it carried a new, dark edge. He asked where his table was. A nearby waitress looked up startled. She stammered that they had cleared it. She thought he had left. He replied that he was gone for 4 minutes. Clarissa appeared. Her approach was quick, her smile triumphant. She feigned surprise at seeing him. She said they thought he had taken off. He stated flatly that she had cleared his table. She shrugged. She said they did not know how long he would be in the basement. They assumed he had ditched the bill. His fists clenched. His voice did not rise. It dropped. It became the low rumble of thunder before a storm. He told her not to lie. Her face hardened. She told him she did not keep track of every guest. She said if he had a problem, he could talk to management. But she added with a sneer that management was not here. Something in his eyes finally broke. It was not his temper. It was his restraint. He stepped forward. He lowered his voice to something more potent than a shout. He recounted her actions: the garbage food, the restroom scene, the erased table, the blatant lies. Her tone turned venomous. She accused him of playing a game. She said she had no time for entitled guests looking for drama. She said he ordered cheap, he sat in the back. And now he was mad because she cleaned the table he abandoned. He snapped back. His voice was a whip crack that silenced nearby tables. He said he did not abandon anything. He followed her instructions. Instructions to use a basement restroom like he was not good enough for the main one. And the moment he was out of sight, she erased him. She threw her arms up dramatically. She accused him of making a big deal out of nothing. The entire dining room was quiet now. The jazz music felt intrusive. Elias took a slow, deliberate breath. He reached into his simple leather satchel. He pulled out a slim, black folder. He looked around the room, meeting the eyes of the silent diners. Then he looked back at Clarissa. He told her he did not want a red carpet. He opened the folder. He just wanted his property to be treated with respect. She scoffed. She asked what that was. A Yelp review. He handed her a single page from the folder. It was an official document. Her eyes scanned the text. Her condescending smile vanished. Her jaw went slack. He said, his voice cutting cleanly through the silent room, that this was the signed ownership agreement. He had bought the restaurant chain 2 months ago. Tonight he said he came as a customer, to watch, to listen. The color drained from Clarissa's face. Panic flared in her eyes. She looked around for an escape. There was none. The manager, Mr. Davies, rushed in, summoned by a server. He saw the scene. He saw the contract in Clarissa's trembling hand. He saw the owner's cold, steady gaze. He knew a disaster had unfolded. Elias explained what had happened. He did not raise his voice. He simply stated the facts. The insults. The fabricated policies. The public humiliation. Clarissa tried to defend herself. She claimed Elias had tricked her. He had set her up. The owner's reply was sharp. He told her she set herself up. All he did was show up hungry. Mr. Davies looked at Clarissa. His disappointment was immense. He told her there was no $50 restroom rule. He told her to take off her name tag. Now. Her hands shook as she unclipped the gold-plated tag. It felt heavy in her palm. No one in the room defended her. The judgment she had so freely given was now her own burden to carry. She turned and stormed out of the restaurant. A single person began to clap. Then another. Then more. It was not a celebration of her defeat. It was an affirmation for the man who refused to be erased. Elias did not bask in the applause. The real work was just beginning. He instructed Mr. Davies to review the security footage. He wanted the truth documented. He wanted it understood. The next evening, Elias returned. He sat at the same table in the back. This time it was spotless. The food was hot and perfectly prepared. The service was humble and attentive. Mr. Davies stood by the table. His apology was sincere. He said they were retraining the entire staff, not because Elias was the owner, but because he should not have to be the owner to be treated like a man. Weeks later, a small brass plaque was installed in that quiet corner. It did not bear his name. It held a single sentence. Every guest deserves dignity without question, without exception. And the lesson from that night was set forever. Justice does not always arrive with a loud bang. Sometimes it just sits down, orders a simple meal, and quietly raises the standard for everyone.